What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Gangrene Eagle Show here on the Ring the Bell Network, presented by SeatGeek. Well, that's a mouthful. I'm Chrissy Francisco. Johnny Mac is here, not even giving that water bottle a chance to survive. But we are
Thirsty,
here.
man.
It's all good. We are here amidst a Phillies game currently being played. So I don't normally do that. But look, we've been trying to get this episode out to you guys, but that's a perfect example of life just gets in the way, and sometimes things just have to go in the back seat. If this was during football season, it just wouldn't have happened. I mean, if I would have had to come on here live at 11 o'clock at night to get an episode out to you guys, which could happen, then we'll do it. But the first couple episodes of Gangrene was more of a really let's just test the waters here of where we're going with this, what we want to do. And tonight is something we've actually wanted to talk about for a little bit. And that's Jalen Hurts. This is a topic that was just massive in the final 10 weeks or so of the season. And it's probably, John, you think, going to be the most, I guess, important aspect of this offseason going into next year in terms of, if you want to get back to Super Bowl type team, it starts with number one. It starts with the quarterback, correct?
Oh yeah, I was listening to the radio a few times this week, last week, and everything. It always comes back to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Every single thing comes back to him. So it's definitely it's the most important position on the field at all. At all times, even when you're playing defense, it's the most important position on the field. It's
right.
So,
and let's kind of set not the record straight, but this is, after going over some things and
Marsh's homer again, 2-run. Oh, never mind. It was off the fucking fence.
So what's a double?
Yeah.
Did JT score?
Yes.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. So here's kind of like what we have to say to those who are saying Jalen had an awful 2023 season. Look, how the season ended, of course, catastrophically awful. I get it. So sometimes certain things are highlighted more than others. And like John said, and like we all know, the quarterback is the first to be talked about. What did the quarterback do? Compared to the Super Bowl season, maybe Jalen Hurts did take a step back, but he didn't have a bad season. So let's just completely erase that narrative.
It's way overblown. It's really did he struggle at times? Yes. Did he turn the ball over too many times? Yes. But at week 11 or 12, whatever it was, I think it was week 12, he was the betting favorite to win the MVP.
That's correct. Yeah. He threw for 3,860 yards, 23 touchdowns, both career highs. He also added 605 rushing yards and a single season NFL record, 15 touchdowns for a quarterback. And again,
for those who want to say it's the tush push, somebody has to get up to the freaking 1 yard line. Like,
right?
Give me a break.
Yeah.
He led the team down.
You don't just show up there.
Give me a break on that one.
Right. That's
like
funny.
I get it. They're really good at it. He's really good at it. Kelsey, we'll see how it is this year without Kelsey. But come on, give me a break. That it got to the 1 yard line at least 15 times.
Right. Exactly. So look, Hurts led the Eagles to the playoffs for the third straight season, and of course, for
they changed it to a home run.
Yeah, I just saw that. And he made the Pro Bowl for the second straight year. So again, those are not the stats, John, of a player or a quarterback who didn't. That's not the stats of someone who sucked. As a lot of fans,
he had 18 interceptions this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So
he's not Josh Allen, but Josh Allen had 18 interceptions.
So while Hurts was pretty good in 2023, all things considered from a statistical aspect of it, on the other side of the coin, John, he didn't take a step forward that many were, including myself, I'm sure you, thought that he would take after that just spectacular, magnificent MVP type season in 2022. He finished second in MVP voting. I feel that I feel like he should have won the MVP in 2022. I kind of feel that he regressed a little bit in 2023. John, what can we equate that to? Is that him? Was he hurt more than maybe he led on? Was it coaching? Was it play calling? When there's so many things that you can
I think it
attribute.
was a combination of all three, and
Okay.
at times it was him. I
Yeah.
mean, he made some bad throws. I mean, you got to hold it to the football fumbling. That's on you. I mean, there's really nothing that a coach can do or anything like that. That's on
Yeah.
you. I mean, it's all three. If you think I mean,
I mean,
obviously the
I think
offense was flawed from the
the
beginning. I mean,
offensive approach under
once it
Brian
got figured
Johnson was poor.
out, it was just downhill from there. If you think about it, they didn't throw the ball over the middle of the field at all. And what's he
Yeah.
good at? Throwing the ball accurately
Hmm.
over the middle of the field. That's something he's good at, and they just didn't do it.
Yeah.
They consistently were throwing those. How many interceptions did he have just because they were throwing? And there was only Verts going down the field, and he was just throwing the ball down the field. And how many of those? I mean, he's not a deep ball thrower. I mean, if it's there and he's open, he can hit sometimes, but that's
Right.
not what he is. He's not a deep
Yeah.
ball thrower.
That's not a
And
specialty. No.
some guys aren't that. So why are we running that in the offense? At times there was no running game, so how can you work a play action, or how could you even throw the ball when they just know you're going to throw? And I mean, even like you saw on the Manning cast, I mean, Christian McCaffrey was like telling you what plays they were going to run, like
Yeah.
while he was like people knew what they were going to run, so that's kind of hard for a quarterback to do things when they know when they know what you're going to run at that point. And then I mean, you heard about the knee injury all year. How much was it affecting his ability to run the ball and stuff like that too? So
Well, he
something that was
still had
affecting.
15 rushing touchdowns. So,
But
so
yeah,
can't be too terrible.
yeah, I'm wondering if I mean, that could have been playing a factor too with him throwing, and he was thinking about that. There's all those factors. I don't think it was generally all on him. There's a combination of all those things. This year we'll actually get to see what happens if he comes out here and he's like he was in 2022, maybe better or just the same, or
Hmm.
maybe a little worse, but the turnovers are down. We can say, well, this is what he is as a quarterback, and that's a pretty damn good quarterback if you ask me. And we can just look at 2023 as they really screwed up hiring Ryan Johnson. Well, they didn't really they screwed up hiring him, but they had to hire him. And the guy was just an MVP, he's
Right.
quarterback's coach of an MVP caliber player who just went to the Super Bowl. Like you don't,
Right.
of course, you hire Ryan Johnson, but they did screw up doing it.
Yeah. So my issue, and this is where I've kind of in my head I revert back to, is why a regression, John, coming off of a Super Bowl season, a Super Bowl appearance. I don't want to say Super Bowl season as if they won. Coming off a Super Bowl appearance, I'll go with that, with essentially the same roster, the same personnel on the field. Um,
Defense had a little bit of holes that weren't fixed, but that's
I'm
linebacker.
talking about, yeah, I'm talking about on the
offense.
offensive side. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
a
this
Jalen
year.
Hurts show.
Oh,
So you look at the offensive side, same personnel, the same wide receiver, same tight end, same head coach. Do you believe any of the rumors or reports that came out during the season that, for those who like wrestling, which is myself, do you believe Bryson Stott 2-run home run? You should keep talking bad about him,
I'll talk bad about
John.
it. I mean, it wasn't even about him. It was just
I
he's
know.
telling the guy to walk.
Um, when it comes to with that same again that same personnel, do you believe that Jalen maybe went into business for himself a little bit last season, calling audibles, not calling his own plays with it not working, not running what was called? Where are you on the rumor and innuendo?
I don't know because I'm hearing there's the rumor that he wasn't allowed to audible, and then there's the rumor that he was allowed to audible. So like, what rumor is it, or is it just excuses that people are making
Yeah.
and about certain things? So I don't know what it was. Was he able to audible in 2022? Because if he wasn't, what's was it then? Maybe it's just the playbook that they had that they
Right.
just didn't. They had nothing in the playbook that they could run that could lead them to success.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if he went into business for himself. The one thing I will say, maybe he went into business for himself as a longevity thing because he just didn't look as aggressive when he was running and taking some of those hits and running through people. But that also there's that knee injury too. So was that part of the reason why? Because at the beginning of the year, it looked like he was trying to be a pocket passer. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
eventually he started running a little more. But was that something that was something he could have won the business for himself? But I don't know if I believe all that. I mean, the only rumor I possibly believe is his leadership thing because he's not a very vocal guy. He's a more of a shut up and go out and play guy, and he doesn't really
Hmm.
talk as much, which not many quarterbacks are like that. Most people want their quarterbacks to say something. I'm sure there's guys in his ear. I mean, A.J. Brown, when he was on the radio, kind of hinted at that he's the guy who yells at people and gets in people's face and shows emotion, and which I kind of viewed, not a shot at Jalen, but I kind of like look at it like maybe Jalen's not that guy, and AJ was trying to be that guy on that sideline, and
Right.
why people are getting, because if Jalen Hurts is doing that on the sideline, nobody's saying a word about him screaming at somebody on the sideline. But when a
Right.
receiver does it, obviously, you know what I mean. Brady used to do it all the time, so I would like to see more of that. I would like to see him open up to the media. I would like to see him open up in the locker room, open up on the sideline, show that emotion, show that you care and that fire that you have. I know he does
Hmm.
care, but like show
For
us how
sure.
much you care. Open up a little bit. Show us yourself. Because I guess what? When you do that, look at Jason Kelsey and all the other players you've
Hmm.
done in Philadelphia. The fans will love it, and they will love
Yeah.
you more for it.
So like we said, that the numbers were pretty good. Obviously, the turnovers were pretty bad. He had 15
That
turnovers.
was the problem.
Um,
That was the problem. He was turnovers.
right.
That you can't turn the ball over 19 times. You just simply
No,
can't.
no, 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 you can't. So, but also, like we said, sometimes stats don't tell the whole story.
Yeah.
For
Oh,
those who,
he had some big game
that's what I'm
studs here
saying.
and
Like,
there.
if you have, like we use in the baseball, like the eye test, when you're an Eagles fan and you watch every single game, you have the eye test. And like you said, he just was not hitting the throws that we were accustomed to him hitting. I also felt like there were a lot of times he was so reliant on just one wide receiver or one player instead of spreading the ball around, which is what made him so successful in 2022. I felt like he got away from that in 2023.
Yeah,
Did
the
you see
Brown
that, and
thing.
why?
Yes, the Brown thing. I mean, Brown had another career year, and I mean, it was almost a duplicate of what he did last year,
Yeah,
besides the touchdowns. But like, I remember seeing Brown last year. They were throwing that slant play, dude. He would go for 10 yards every single time. Like, why?
yeah,
What happened to stop running that? I mean,
yeah.
I thought Brown could possibly take a bigger step, and that never happened. And I think that was due to lack of offensive scheme, where he just needed to be over in the middle of the field, which he just was never in the middle of the field to catch balls.
Yeah.
Goddard being hurt for a little bit, that's never good. That can always, affect you. And then just a running game, they actually ran the ball fairly well in 2022, better than they did last year.
Yeah.
And it was more consistent. When there's a consistent run game, it helps the quarterback out a lot more, which I would like to see that more to help him. It helps the team out in general. And which they
Right.
signed Saquon, and different offensive coordinator. So who knows if they're not using
Right.
Saquon, there's a freaking issue there.
So another question I have for you is, what impact do you think Nick Sirianni has, if any, on this upcoming season for Jalen Hurts? I mean, from what we've heard, I mean,
I
again,
don't
it's
think
what
he's
we
had an
hear.
impact. I don't think he's had an impact on the offense since his first year coaching. I think once he figured out he couldn't do it, he gave it up to Steichen, and he's never
So
tried to
he's
regain it.
just essentially a hype man right now.
Yeah, which I have no problem with, because there's a lot of great coaches in the NFL that are just hype men. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, but I mean, it just doesn't. He's one of them. He's a special
Hmm.
teams coach. He's not an offensive or defensive guy. So I mean, there's tons of other guys that are like that too, that just take that
Right.
CEO role of the team, which I'm fine with.
Hmm.
If he can. The one thing I don't love about it, which has nothing to do with the episode, is just the way the locker room kind of fell apart at the end of the season. You're
Yeah.
somebody as the CEO and team, the head coach of the team, that can't happen anytime, even if you're calling plays. That's the one thing. So I don't think
Right.
he has. I really don't think he has much say at all at this point. I just think he was right guy, right time, got hired.
Right.
He couldn't call plays, and he had an offense coordinator who could call plays, and it just worked out in their favor. And they just didn't have that last year, and that's why they struggled.
So overall, before we kind of get into a couple things that I want to see out of Jalen Hurts in 2024, what was your overall? I know I asked you a couple questions at the beginning, but I know you wrote some things down. You had some thoughts from your perspective only. What was your thoughts on one, Jalen of 2023, and three, the criticism surrounding Jalen Hurts? Where I know you dig deep into things sometimes. Trust me, everyone, he
Um,
digs. So what was
I
your
mean,
overall
I looked at his
perspective?
stats. I mean, we kind of already talked about it. I mean, if you want to I looked at it like he played 15 games in 2022.
Yeah.
He had a 66.5% completion percentage, 4,400 total yards, 35 total touchdowns, 6 turnovers, which a passer rating of 101.5
Yeah.
and a QBR of 68.3, and they were
Mhm.
13-2 with him playing.
Yeah.
In 2023, in 17 games, which really was only like 16 and a quarter games, because he really didn't play much of the second
Mhm.
quarter and of that last game. But 65% completion percentage, 4,400 total yards, 38 total touchdowns, 19 turnovers. That's where it is, 19 turnovers. Passer rating of 89.1, a QBR of 60.1, and 11-6. I mean, they're almost identical. It's the turnovers it's the difference maker. I mean, it wasn't 2022. Obviously, it really wasn't. He needs to be better, but it
Hmm.
wasn't as bad as as everybody's making out to be. He was inconsistent at times. Yes. Does he need to protect the ball better? Of course, that's like the most important thing as a quarterback is protecting the football.
Right.
Um, and just limit the turnovers and be more consistent on the field. And one thing I would love to see is just him open up a little more to the media, open up more to your teammates, be that leader. Let me see you on the sideline and show how much you care. Show us why we paid you all that at the time you were the highest paid quarterback in
Right.
football history. Like let's see that. Let's see another side of you. You're 20, gonna be 26 now.
Hmm.
Let's do let's grow up and mature a little more. He's a pretty mature guy already, but let's just mature more into like a football as like leadership role on this team because guess what? Kelsey's gone now. You need
Yep.
somebody on that offense who can be that true leader. And I don't think it's AJ Brown because AJ Brown has a little more fire and intensity under him that where
Hmm.
I think people will tune him out. Unlike Kelsey's, where how he's been there for so long and he's the best center in football. It was a little different for him and how much somebody respected him. People respected him already. I don't think Brown has that. He could get it. He doesn't have it yet, but
Yeah.
definitely Hurts you kind of already have it because you're the quarterback of the team. So people are going to listen to you just because you're the quarterback of the team. So be that leader. People are going to listen and they are going to follow you. And one thing I would love to see more, hopefully we do see it this year. Remember in 2022, after every game, him talking? We saw that every
Yep.
game. We didn't
Every
see
game.
it. We didn't see it all last year. Where did that go? I would love to see that again. I
I
loved seeing that. I mean, that was a one weird thing I mean, I don't know what happened, but I would love to see that again. I would love to see that guy again. Um, and what was the last question too? Oh, the was it the people's thoughts on him? What
Yeah,
the
like what was your the outside perception throughout the season, how it just progressively got
they're Eagles
worse?
they're Eagles fans. They're gonna bitch no matter what. That's just what's gonna happen. They're going to. They're gonna
Hmm.
complain when a guy's doing great. They're gonna praise him. When he's playing bad, they're gonna drag him in the dirt like he's the worst player to ever step on the field. And that's
Yeah.
it does need to change. Is it gonna change? No. At times I was frustrated with them. I'm like my dad, and you've said it before. I should be a PR guy for the Eagles because I defend them so because I defend them so much.
Yes, yes.
But I look at the Eagles with a little more optimism. Like when they were failing and stuff like that, I'm like, and the people were complaining. Even when they were 10-1, people were complaining. I'm like, they're 10-1. They're the best team in football. He's the
Hmm.
MVP front runner. And obviously, I had to eat crow after they lose 6 of the last 7.
Yeah,
But it was hard to defend at that point. But
yeah.
I don't think he's what everybody's making him out to be as a quarterback. I still think
I
he's a very
agree.
good quarterback. I still think he's a top 10. Was giving him top 5 last year a little bit premature? Yeah. But,
Do you
he's
think he
still a
can
top
get back to that top 5 level? And
I do.
do you do
I
you
truly
think
do.
but do you
And
think the Eagles need him to be at a top 5 level?
of course, you're not
Okay.
going to win a Super Bowl unless I mean Brock Purdy. As much as I think that was people around him and the system he plays in, he played at a top 5 level because of those people. And Jalen
Mhm,
Hurts played at a top 5 level because of the people around him as well.
mhm.
Brady, the same thing when he played at a top 5 level when he was young, but he wasn't spectacular. He wasn't
Right.
until he got older. That's when he learned. Hopefully, Hurts can become that guy where he doesn't have to rely on having superstar talent around him. But right now we have it, and you need to succeed with it. And once you
Yeah.
start succeeding a little more and a little more and a little more, gets more confidence, and you won't have to rely on the superstar talent around you as much.
Right. I agree. All right. So let's kind of talk about a couple things that we would like to see out of Hertz in 2024. And like, look, this is gonna be discussed as we get the training camp, and right before the season starts, we'll be talking more about Jalen Hurts. Obviously, the biggest obstacle that's ahead of Jalen will be to limit the turnovers. Man, like it's just so noticeable over the course of his first 2 seasons as a full-time starter, both 21 and 22, he was heavily praised for how well he took care of the football. And over, those 2 seasons, he had 15 total interceptions with an average interception percentage of 1.7. You know, again, okay, yes, this
Could have been
that
an
trend
anomaly. Just could have been an
that
anomaly. You
yeah,
don't know
you
what you're going to get at this point. And then he's still it's third year as a full time starter. We don't really know who he really is yet. We didn't
right.
know
And
who Carson Wentz was until what year 4, year 5. I mean, we didn't know you don't know who a lot of these guys are. It's how that first year, they kind of figure out who you were, and we really didn't figure out who Jalen Hurts really was his
mhm,
first year. He kind of was just there. He played well. He led them to the playoffs. Todd Bowles tried to say who he. Todd Bowles knows who he is. That's one guy who at this point knows who he is. But like Todd Bowles kind of like said, he can't go to his left.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
kind of, but then like you see like 2023, you kind of saw him take that big step, which that's kind of his second year in the NFL. Like it's, the first year was kind of his rookie year. Now his second year, usually they start to break out the second year. It's the third year when you really get figured out, and that's kind of like what. Hopefully that's not what happened. Hopefully it was just an anomaly, and hopefully next year we will see who he really is.
Yeah, this is going to be the big year. Like we said, he had 15 interceptions, which was which was what he had combined the previous two. Only Sam Howell and Josh Allen had more picks. But when you factor also in nine fumbles, that's 23 turnover. That's 24 total turnovers.
No,
Which is
I think only 4 of them were lost fumbles though.
Okay.
But there's
It was
still a lot of fumbles. And
yeah,
how many are that? But how many are them? Because Kelsey does that thing with the snap. I mean, how many of them are those like where he just catches
Right.
They're low snaps and he drops it, has to pick it up, or it's over his head. They count as quarterback fumbles, not center fumbles, which makes no
Right.
sense.
That was the fourth highest total turnovers in the NFL, behind only Howell, Josh Allen, and Trevor Lawrence. Clearly, if the Eagles want to be successful in 2024, the turnovers have to. I mean, I'm gonna say they got to be cut in half. I mean that number has to be cut in half.
I'm fine with 11. 11 is fine. I mean, I don't think 11. If he has 11,
zero.
if he has, I mean, I would love. I mean, seriously, anybody would love 0.
I mean,
it's never happened.
I don't think there's anything wrong with 7 or 8. I think that's a very good season.
I think 7 to 11 is fine. And total turnovers, because he's obviously he's gonna turn the ball over. It's
no, I'm talking about interceptions. I mean, fumbles are going to happen. I mean, he had 6 his MVP type season. I would like to be around that 6 to 8 mark with 25 or more touchdowns. That's what I would like to see. I feel like that would be I feel like that is Jalen Hurts' passing sweet spot, like 25-7, 27-7, something like that. I would love for him. Look, he's only got a limit. I mean, to get under double digits, he's only got to throw, 6 less interceptions, which, ideally in today's NFL shouldn't be that bad because, again, we've talked about this. He's not a guy that's going to throw the ball down the field all the time.
He shouldn't. He should.
So
if it's there and
exactly.
Guys open, do it, but don't force it. Like at times he was forcing it.
Right.
But that was the play call. That was also the play call. And they were all downfield. He had to throw it down the field. And a lot of times they were going for the end of the games. They were going for pass interference calls, and they end up getting turnovers and stuff like that late in games when they were down. Those late gamers, they go for pass interference calls to get field goals, which is stupid.
I agree. And so my second thing is what I want him to do is to, help the NFL remember how much of a running threat he is. And I think a lot of this has to do maybe with that knee injury, because if you look, he had over 750 rushing yards in 21 and 22, where he averaged over 50 yards per game and nearly 6 yards per carry in 2023. 600 rushing yards, 35 rushing yards a game, and 3.8 yards a carry. So that's like, whether that's the system he was in, maybe he did have that nagging knee injury. Like you said, it's probably a combination of all of them. He just wasn't explosive like he was before.
You could see that he wasn't as fast. Like there was,
you could tell
wasn't there.
It wasn't. And again, I think the key word was there was no explosion out of him last year. And that's something I think that the Eagles really need him to do. Like you said, you use the word anomaly. Hopefully, every negative thing we're talking about right now that happened in 2023, it will be an anomaly by the end of 2024, right? So, but again, I think if the Eagles are going to be incredibly successful, Jalen's got to reestablish himself as that scary dude when he has to take off.
And
at any point of the
game. Sometimes, like you look at, like even in 20, you saw it sometimes this year. You definitely saw it a ton of times in 2022.
Yeah,
he just like he may be like not on the stat sheet, might not do anything all game, but like for some reason when that fourth quarter came, he just won football games.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of lost the last 6 or 7 games, or he just like wasn't winning football games. Like you just looked at him, it was like, this guy just wins football. It was like Tebow-esque, like where Tim Tebow did nothing all game, but like somehow like it'd be in his hands late in the game, and they'd come back with the victory. Like, and it was like that. It was like a Tebow-esque situation where he just win football games. and he lost that the last 6 or 7 games. And I was hoping they could recapture it against the Bucks in the playoffs, but obviously that didn't happen. But so that's the one thing I want to see him do again, where if you're not having a great day on the field, like once that fourth quarter comes and it just like you figure it out and like you win that football game from, because that's what winners do. That's what good players do. They win the game. They win the game at all costs. I would love to see that more. I would love them to limit the turnovers in general. Just cut. You're right. Cut them in half. I mean, half is. I mean, that's like 7. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I mean, I think sitting around 10 isn't terrible. It's fine. You can win an MVP at 10. Mahomes won it with like 12, 13 interceptions. You can win it. You can still be a good quarterback at that level. It's the call. Don't make them costly turnovers. If it's a turnover, like it happens, don't make them costly turnovers. Also, I would, the running thing. I would love to see him. Hopefully, the injury. That's one thing I had written down. I mean, that injury all year. I mean, affected his ability to run. You could easily tell that. I mean, I don't know how severe it was. I don't know if he got
maybe
surgery.
We'll find out in training camp. Maybe if he had surgery in the offseason, because we didn't hear about it.
I don't. Yeah, you kind of stopped. Like eventually, at one point, like got to the point where they stopped talking about the knee injury. So like, I don't know what it was. They said it was a bone bruise. So I don't know exactly what was going on there. Maybe he needed to go in there and get it repaired at some point, but he didn't want to take a few weeks off like Darius Slay did. Just I want to see him be the guy he was in 2022, or at least close to it, because he wasn't that in 2023, even though he did have a decent season. And just get these guys going, get Goddard going early, get Saquon going early, get AJ going, get Smith going. If you get these guys going early, you're going to be unstoppable, I think, this year.
Yeah, I agree. So when you look at it this way, and that kind of goes into my third and final thing is, and we talked about this at the top a little bit, is he's got to spread the ball around. They got to find a way to spread the ball around, because if you look at this, if you look at the team, obviously they have maybe one of, if not the best dual threat in the entire 1-2 punch in the entire league with Devontae and Jalen. AJ had 106 catches last year. Devontae had 81, but then there's this gigantic drop off after that. John Quez Watkins was the team's third leading wide receiver with 15 receptions.
Goddard pretty much was not there really all year.
I just want to remind everyone who's talking. I've been reading about mock drafts, and people are kind of pissed at
this Brock Bowers shit, dude. Like, dude,
they need so much
help on defense.
I know. I agree, but just a quick reminder that Dallas Goedert is the age, the same age of the Eagles drafted him to replace Zach Ertz. So
the problem is with it, you have to trade up. You have to trade up to get him. You probably have to trade up to at least 15.
I'm not doing that.
At least 15, probably earlier to get him. Probably earlier. So 10 to 15 is where I think he's going to go in that draft. So you have to be in that range.
Hard pass
you have to be in that range. So that means you have to give up a second round pick. When obviously there's a need at guard at this point, because you don't know who's going to be the guard. Hennessy and Steen at this point are going to compete for that position. So you're going to obviously have to use a first round. Hopefully it's not a first round pick, because they still need another edge rusher since they got rid of Son Reddick. And then the second round pick has to be, I would assume, one of them has to be an offensive lineman. You still need another DB.
Wait, you said they don't need Hassan Reddick.
They still need another one. I said when they trade him, I wanted one in the first round. I said that our last show, but I don't think they still need another guy. I mean, at this point, they have 3 edge rushers. I think.
What do you have? You have Noah Smith,
Sweat,
Huff.
Nolan Smith.
Nolan Smith.
4 guys. I mean, when they usually have more than that. I mean, last year they had
Brandon Graham.
They have 4 guys right now. 4 guys.
Yeah.
So I mean, you need another guy in that room, because guess what? Graham's going next year. So
of course. You're
gonna need your. And exactly. I don't really expect him to do a ton. He's 36 years old, 35 years old. Right. I don't expect him to, be the guy he was when he was 30, when he was 25. And I don't expect that. I'm not expecting that at all of him. I'm expecting him to play 30 to 50% of the snaps. That's what I'm expecting. They need another guy in there too, a younger guy. They need to be young too. So I don't know. But he loves AJ Brown, which I have no problem with. He loves starting the bottom, which I have no problem with. I love that he has a comfort guy you can throw.
Yeah, that's the way a quarterback should have that main guy,
and that's who AJ Brown is. Him, and if he throws it to him 200 times in a season, I don't really care if they're winning and AJ's racking up the yards and the touchdowns. I really don't care. But It is so nice to have all those weapons around you, and they're all clicking at the same time.
I agree.
Especially this year when you have a guy like Saquon who can come out of the backfield, which the Eagles haven't had since LaShawn
Right.
McCoy
So adding
and
Saquon,
Brian
yeah, it's a big
Westbrook.
deal.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be
Yeah.
terrifying to
It's
see if they can if he can spread the ball around really well.
Yeah, it's a big deal that you're adding a running back that, if called upon, could catch between 60 and 80 balls. I hope
Yes,
it doesn't get to that point,
and run
but
for 1,500 yards.
run
And
for
he had
15.
2,000, which I hope we get that player, and I hope they use him to that ability where we have a player like Christian McCaffrey, which I hope that's the way I view it. I think it's like, I don't think he is Christian McCaffrey, but I view this offense now like the 49ers offense, and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
Kellen Moore, he's had success calling plays in the NFL. That's the one thing I love about it. So I'm not super concerned that we're going to have a repeat of last year. I just don't know yet if he's going to be as good as he was in 2022.
Yeah, no, I agree. And this is just, I look, I'm not saying that they don't have enough production. Obviously, Dallas Goedert had 60 catches, Gainwell, I think, had 30, but I would like to see more production out of the wide receiver position. That's
They
where
need
I'm
a
at
draft.
on that.
That's another problem. They need a third guy. I mean, Paris Campbell. He's been.
You don't think Devontae Parker is going to do that?
I mean, the dude is. I mean, I saw that he has the worst separation in
Worst.
NFL in the last 4 years. He's literally
Yes.
dead last. Dead last.
He's literally dead last. That's not even like a joke. It's legitimate.
He was the number one for 2 to 3 years, pretty much in New England.
Yeah.
His last year in Miami, he might have been the one, possibly the number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Fuller was there, and I don't know if Fuller never played anyways. He was always hurt, and I don't know if that was Waddle's rookie year. But maybe it's different when he's a number 3. He's a big boy. I don't hate it because he can be a red zone target at times. He can be a vertical deep threat. He was still catching balls, not as many as you would like him to catch, not getting any separation. So he obviously can go up and get it. But they truly do need a number 3 wide receiver, and we saw that in the Super Bowl with Quez Watkins. So they do.
Exactly. So as we wrap up here, guys, head over to SeatGeek.com right now. Use our code Ring the Bell for $20 off your very first ticket purchase. Look, the moral of the story and the moral of why we're here is relax. I think Jalen's going to be okay. I think we're going to see more of 2022 Jalen than what we saw of 2023. I really do feel that way. Do I think Jalen's going to get back to being a top 5? I think he has the ability. I think he has the team around him to do that. So I'm not going to sit here and say top 5, but I will say that I think he definitely has the ability to do that. If he's already done it once, he's not 35. The kid's going to be 26, 27 years old.
Still a young kid.
He's going to be okay. He's a franchise quarterback. Don't worry too much. Like John and I have said before, I'm worried about the other side of the football more than Jalen Hurts right now.
Way more.
I agree. All right. So, John, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be talking about probably Jalen Hurts at nauseum within the next couple months. So just want to get on here and talk a little bit about Jalen before the draft. We'll be on here again soon to talk about and prep everybody for the draft, what we're looking for, what the mock drafts are telling us. Just basically, again, how we can go any route on this draft in terms of needs for this team. So it's going to be really interesting what they're looking at heading into the NFL draft at the end of the month. But again, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell for notifications, whether it's for the baseball show or the Eagles one. We'll be back here Sunday night for the Ring the Bell Philly show. Hopefully we're talking about a sweep, maybe 3-1 against the Pirates. The things are looking good right now in the first game of this series. But thank you guys so much, John. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. We'll catch you guys down the road. Have a good one. Bye-bye.